Good day everyone. For today's video, we will be discussing about the executive branch of the government, specifically in the Philippine government. But before going deeply or immediately about what the executive branch is, I think it is important to recall our idea on what a government is. So in our previous video, we defined the government or discussed that the government is an agency by which the will of the people is expressed and carried out. So to understand better, a government is an institution. It is a political institution that governs or manages the affairs of the state. Now, we perceive the government only as a single unit. Well, it is true. But the government is actually composed or divided into three branches, and each branch performs distinct roles or tasks. In the Philippines, the government has three branches. We have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judiciary. However, for today's video, we will be dealing only with the executive branch. So let us start our discussion with this question. What is the primary function of the executive branch? Well, the function vis-a-vis the power of the executive branch is to enforce and administer the laws of the state. In other words, its primary role is to execute the laws of the country. In the Philippines, the executive branch is spearheaded by the president. As such, the executive power is vested to the president as well. Now, in the Philippine context, the president, as the chief executive, is both the head of the government and also the head of the state. Now, when we say head of the government, it means that he is the top administrator, and thus, the president actively participates in the affairs of the government. While as the head of the state, he merely represents the country in the international affairs and also carries out ceremonial functions. However, please bear in mind that we are talking about the executive branch in the national level. In the local level, in the local government unit, we also have the executive branch headed by the mayor or the provincial governor. Nonetheless, again, let's focus in the national level. Since we are talking about the executive branch, it is vital also to discuss the functions and powers of the chief executive in order to understand more the executive branch. For me, knowing the role of the president or of the chief executive is akin to knowing the nature of the executive branch. Well, the president performs several functions and at the same time possesses vast power. But for our discussion, I will just single out the commonly known powers exercised by the president. So the first power is the power of control. The president of the Philippines is mandated or is vested with the power of control over all the executive departments, bureaus, and offices. So what is meant when we say power of control? So the power of control is defined in our jurisprudence as the authority to direct the performance of a duty, restrain the commission of acts, review, approve, reverse, or modify the acts and decisions of the subordinate officials. So when the president exercises his power of control, it means that he can change or modify the decisions of his subordinate officials. So let's proceed. So the second power that can be exercised by the president is the power of general supervision over the local government units. Here, the president's power is only limited to ensuring that the LGUs are following the laws. So unlike in the power of control, supervising officials, or when the president supervises, he merely sees to it that the rules are followed. In other words, the chief executive cannot substitute his wisdom or judgment over the wisdom or decision of the LGUs. So lahi siya sa power of control, because in the power of control, si president can change or modify the decision. But his power of control is only with respect to the executive departments, bureaus, or offices. But with respect to the local government units, si President can only exercise the power of general supervision. And again, the power of general supervision, dili labot ana ang maka-change or modify si President. What the President can do is to ensure nga si local government musunod sa balaod. Alright? Now, let's proceed to the other powers vested to the President. So, the third power that can be exercised by the President is the ordinance power. The President of the Philippines has the power to issue executive ordinances or issuances which are meant to streamline the policy and programs of his administration. So the ordinance power is sometimes referred to by other people as the rule-making power of the President. So examples of the ordinances that can be issued by the President or orders that can be issued by the President are executive orders, administrative orders, proclamations, memorandum orders, memorandum circulars, or general or special orders. So the next power that is delegated to the President is the power to appoint. So the President may appoint officials to the Philippine or in the Philippine government as provided by the Constitution or other laws in our country. So among the high-ranking officials that can be appointed by the President are the cabinet members and the justices of the Supreme Court. But please bear in mind that although the President can appoint, has the power to appoint, there are certain positions na the President can appoint but kinahanglan i-conform siya sa Commission on Appointments. If the Commission on Appointments rejects the appointment made by the President, then of course, obviously, that person appointed by the President cannot continue performing his functions. So that is the limitations on the power of appointment. So to proceed, the other power vested to the President is known as the military power. So the President, as we all know, is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. As such, the President may call out the armed forces to prevent or suppress lawless violence, invasion, or rebellion. Additionally, the President may also suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus or declare martial law in case of invasion or rebellion and when public safety requires it. So, those are just the powers of the Chief Executive. As mentioned earlier, there are other powers that are lodged to the Chief Executive. But based on our discussion, we can deduce the fact that the executive branch holds immense power and also entrusted with crucial or major responsibilities. Hence, it is essential that when we elect a president or choose a chief executive, we must always ask this question. One, is this person competent to perform effectively the functions of the chief executive? And two, is this person incorruptible, knowing the tremendous power vested to the office of the president? So I hope that you learned a lot from our discussion today. Stay tuned for other video lecture about the legislative department and also the judiciary. Thank you.